Hello and welcome. I'm a hotel AI expert with a deep background in modern hospitality operations, and I am so pleased to welcome all of you students from Europe Hotel School to your online learning journey. We're really looking forward to supporting your growth. Now, if you're in the hotel industry, you know that negotiation is a daily reality, right? But are we always doing it effectively? In this explainer, we're going to break down the art of hospitality negotiation. It's all about moving beyond that simple back and forth on price to build real, lasting partnerships. So whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro, these strategies are going to sharpen your skills.
So, let's kick things off with a big question that, honestly, a lot of people get wrong. When you hear the word negotiation, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Is it a battle over price? You know, that tug of war to see who can get the absolute lowest rate? And look, while price is always going to be part of the conversation, thinking about it that way, well, that's probably the fastest way to lose. Real negotiation, as we're about to see, is a completely different game.
The truth is, hospitality negotiation is this really sophisticated mix of psychology, knowing the market, and honestly, just building relationships. See, the goal isn't just to win on price today. The real goal is to create an outcome where both you and the client feel like you've won. That's how you secure valuable long-term business. It's not about just reactively dropping your rate every time someone asks. It's about having a proactive strategy for growth. Okay, so to get our heads around all this, we're going to break it down into 5 key areas. First, we'll look beyond the price tag. Then we'll get into decoding different client mindsets. After that, we'll talk about the hotel's own strategic position, navigate those ever-changing market dynamics, and finally wrap up with the super important human element. So let's dive in by shifting our focus away from just the price.
All right, Section 1, moving beyond the price. You see, the best negotiators, they know something crucial. When a client asks for a discount, it's almost never just about the money. Think of it like a signal. It's a signal about what they need, the pressures they're under, and what they really consider to be value. Our job isn't to just react to the number they throw out. It's to proactively figure out what that signal really means.
And when you really boil it all down, most buyers are looking for these 3 fundamental things. First, value. They have to feel like they're getting a great deal for what they're paying. Second, consistency. They need a reliable, predictable experience every single time. And third, and this is a big one, risk reduction. They want to avoid any potential problems, whether that's a bad review from a guest or blowing their budget.
Okay, so we've got those core needs down, right? Value, consistency, risk reduction. Now, let's see how those needs look a little different depending on who you're talking to. This brings us to our second section, decoding the client's mindset. Because, let's be real, not all buyers are the same, and understanding their specific role, that's your secret weapon in any negotiation.
All right, first up, let's talk about the corporate travel manager. Now, this is the person who's responsible for a company's entire travel program. They're not just booking a one-off trip. Nope. They're managing this complex system of policies, budgets, and all the needs of their travelers. For any hotel that's serious about business travel, these folks are absolutely critical partners.
So for them, it's all about control and efficiency. I mean, yeah, of course they have to manage budgets. That's a given. But just as important, they've got to make sure their employees are safe, comfortable, and can actually get their work done on the road. What does that mean for us? It means they value consistency and a super easy, reliable booking process just as much, if not more, than the lowest possible rate. If you can solve those problems for them, suddenly the price becomes a lot less of an issue.
Okay, next up, the event planner. Just think for a second about the kind of pressure they're under. We're talking massive conferences, maybe even once-in-a-lifetime weddings. They are juggling dozens, sometimes hundreds of moving parts. For them, the hotel isn't just a place. It's a critical piece of the puzzle that determines if their event is a huge success or a total disaster.
For an event planner, reliability is literally everything. I mean, a microphone that doesn't work, a coffee service that's 5 minutes late, that could throw off their entire event. And because things like schedules and the number of attendees are always changing, flexibility isn't just a nice to have, it's an absolute must. They aren't just buying rooms and meeting space from you. They're buying a partner who can solve problems in the moment.
And our third profile is the tour operator. Their whole business is built on putting together and selling these amazing travel packages to groups of tourists. So you have to remember, their company's reputation is on the line with every single guest they send to your hotel.
Now, don't get me wrong, tour operators are definitely looking for good group rates to make their packages profitable, but their business is built on reputation. word of mouth is huge for them. They need predictable contracts and, more than anything, consistent quality for their guests. Think about it. One bad hotel stay can lead to a dozen angry online reviews for their tour company. And that is exactly why they value long-term, trustworthy partnerships with hotels so much.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the client. Now let's flip the script and look at this from the hotel's side. As the seller, your job is a really delicate balancing act. You've got to protect your revenue and make sure things run smoothly, but you also need to build those lasting relationships that keep people coming back.
This slide really nails the core tension that every great negotiator has to manage. On one side, you've got assertiveness. This is you clearly communicating what your hotel needs, your pricing boundaries, your terms, what you can and can't do. But on the other side, you have empathy, your ability to genuinely understand the pressures the client is facing. The magic, the real sweet spot of negotiation, doesn't happen on just one side. It happens right there in the middle, where those two things overlap.
So here's the key takeaway. Communication is obviously huge, but listening is your most powerful tool. When a client asks for the what, like a lower rate, active listening helps you uncover the why. Maybe they're worried about getting their budget approved by their boss. Once you know that why, you can offer a more creative solution, maybe some added value that actually solves their real problem without you having to just slash your price.
Of course, this balance between your needs and the client's needs doesn't happen in a bubble, right? It's constantly being pushed and pulled by outside forces. And that brings us to our fourth section, understanding the dynamics of market power. Because the leverage in any negotiation is rarely 50-50. It's always shifting back and forth.
And this chart shows that shift perfectly. During high season, when demand is through the roof and your rooms are packed, the hotel has way more leverage. You control a scarce resource and everyone wants it. But then, flip to the low season. Demand is down, and suddenly, the buyer has the power. They have a ton of options, and all the hotels are fighting for their business. A really smart negotiator knows exactly where they stand on this chart before they even pick up the phone.
And in today's global industry, we absolutely cannot ignore cultural dynamics. Negotiation styles are dramatically different all over the world. For example, a direct, let's get straight to the price approach might work perfectly in one culture. But in another, it could come off as incredibly rude if you haven't taken the time to build a personal relationship first. Being aware of these little nuances is so important for building trust and avoiding really costly misunderstandings.
All right, and that brings us to our final section, which is arguably the most important, and maybe the most advanced part of negotiation, the human element. This is all about the psychology that's quietly driving every single interaction. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? Trust is the foundation of everything. When a client truly trusts that you are genuinely trying to help them succeed, not just trying to take their money, the entire conversation changes. They become more open about what they really need and what their limits are. And just like that, it's no longer a fight. It becomes a collaborative session where you're both on the same team trying to solve a problem together. Okay, so how do we actually put all this into practice? This path right here is our roadmap to success. Step 1 is preparation. You absolutely have to do your homework and know your client inside and out. That groundwork lets you bring emotional intelligence to the table. Step 2, where you're managing the human dynamics, not just crunching numbers. Now, step 3 is crucial and often overlooked, internal coordination. Your sales, revenue, and operations teams have to be on the same page. If you do all of that, you get to step 4, where you move from simple negotiation to true collaboration. And that's where you reach a final agreement that feels like a shared success for everyone involved. So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this one question to take into your very next negotiation. I want you to stop thinking of it as just a transaction, start thinking of it as the first step in building a long-term, incredibly valuable partnership. How are you going to use these principles to make that shift? Thanks so much for your time.